If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, 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 blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes.
Blah,
Good vibes.
blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show, coming at you this week with Johndennis, Govert. Good show. Was his spiritual Dharma Dragon Gate or something like that?
Yeah, Spiral Dharma Dragon Gate. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Actually, kind of reminded me of OA a little bit, because it sounds like what he's put together is a real simple way of sort of helping you reach mastery and your sort of enlightenment, I guess. I think he said enlightenment too.
He's no slouch.
No, I mean, that's the thing. I love talking to these guys that have been around the block for decades. I mean, he was a Zen Roshi, Tibetan Buddhist Lama, Feng Shui master, astrologer, Shodo calligrapher, and Qigong healer. The author of Feng Shui, Art and Harmony of Place and Realty Feng Shui. But then also his recent book there, which is the Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate, 6 Key Tibetan Practices for Enlightenment. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. I think I'm going to actually, I have the physical book here. I'm going to probably practice some of that stuff as a meditation, Get into
You're
it.
Dharma Gate it up.
I'm going to Dharma Gate it out. Yeah, go through that Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate.
Fuck yeah.
Because sometimes it's a little new, like some of the stuff we do is a little new agey, like, but
Yeah.
when you have these real masters on and it's not about just channeling a group of people that are talking about climate change and stuff, then it's kind of a little bit deeper and better. I mean, I really find it fascinating.
It's always a fun conversation. It's a good chat. Of course, there's always a timestamp if you want to just click on that in the show notes and miss out on all the lazy ramblings here. You don't have to listen. Some people love it. Some people hate it. We get it. But there is a timestamp if you just want to jump ahead to the interview with Johndennis. It is a good one. We'll probably just do some housekeeping here, talk about life as a podcaster. Thank some people who support the show and help it to exist. That sort of thing. It was a fun chat with Johndennis. That was one of those double whammies. It's been some good ones lately.
Yeah, totally.
It's been some good ones. You know what I've kind of found is like taking a step back from doing all the A-list podcasting. That's finally given me some time to appreciate being a podcaster and, be more, you don't just look forward to the interviews instead of just having it be another thing you got to do.
Yeah.
So it's been fun lately. It's been a fun few weeks.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah. And hunting, of course. And, you're in that season. So that's good.
We're in the season. Yeah. I feel bad for my buddies because when we're, they still got to work.
You got to jump to work. And you got to jump hunting around your podcasting, basically.
Yeah, which is super flexible. And most, I make a point that like when I come in here on a Monday night and there's a bunch of shit to do, I know it's going to be a late night. You got to record a roundup, record this intro, edit it all out, get it all out. It'll be a late night. But I was out hunting ducks all morning on Monday morning, so, and I've been out hunting ducks for several mornings in a row, several Mondays in a row. So it's like,
well, since we
make sure I never think of it as a grind. It's just like, thing I get to do, and then I can, if I have to sleep till 9 tomorrow, it's not a big deal.
Well, that's what I was going to say is since you've been doing this for your job and not on your day job, so we've been doing more shows live in the afternoon instead of in the evening. So I've been going to bed quite a bit earlier, like 9, 10, and getting up, just getting up, early naturally. And I wondered how it would be in the winter, like because I think in the winter I was sleeping in longer.
It's definitely easier to sleep in the
Just
even right now, I gotta be like pretty bagged to sleep in past say 7:30 is when
yeah.
I got west facing windows in my room, so this is the brightness. It takes a minute to get in there, and we got some like blankets hung over because the problem with them west facing windows in the west sun is they would just heat up in there like crazy. The air conditioner couldn't even keep up. So you hang big comforters over the windows, and it like keeps the heat out and also keeps the light out from when the sun's coming up at like
Yeah.
4 in the morning. So, but I've been setting my alarm. That's the thing about hunting season is it's back to alarm setting time. So I gotta say, like, usually I still get up before my alarm. Like Saturday we were going out. Was it Saturday? Sunday we were going out. Saturday was my anniversary. But I had to set my alarm for. I think I had it set for like 3:40 or 3:55. Same as last weekend when we went out duck hunting last Monday. You know, as a get up at 3:45, leave at 4:15 or something. But yeah, we left. I was up before my alarm. Still, you know, my alarm was set for 3:55. I was up at like 3:45. Checked the time. I was like, oh, might as well get up.
Yeah.
But when my alarm went off this morning at, I think it went off. It was a little later. I left. No, I still left here. I think I left here 4:30 this morning. So maybe 4:40. So I got up at, I think my alarm was set for 4:10 after 4 or something like that. But that motherfucker had to go off. And when it went off, I didn't know like what fucking planet I was on or what I was late for or what was going on. You know, it was like one of those, like I was in the thick of the sleep. And I was lying back in bed and I was just like, I got to get the fuck up right now or I'm going to be out and Jesse's just going to show up at the fucking lake and I'm not going to be there. So. But I was out. I expect that tonight I will it'll be a bit of a late night. Won't be bad. I'm not complaining, but I'm expecting I'll sleep quite well tonight and probably sleep in tomorrow. We don't have an interview till noon. So I'm planning tomorrow.
No, it's 1:30, I think.
1:30 and 3, just bam, bam.
1:30 and 5? No, 1:30 and 3.
Even better. I got some other stuff to catch up on too, computer work, but that's not tiring, you know. Nothing's like tiring. It's like if I could just sleep in and come sit in my office and drink coffee for a little bit, that doesn't sound like too bad for a couple of days right now. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm just hunting so much, I'm happy to get into my office. So that's a good place to be. You know, it's like today I could have kept hunting. I didn't have really much to do for, you know, I think we left around 11. We had already got, you know, a lot of ducks limits. We limited out
Really?
Jesse and yeah, a few more for me. I think
Well, so what does that look like then? Tell us.
I think I got 10. I
Okay.
think I got 10 and he got 8. I don't know how many we shot, but this is like, yeah, we do know how many we shot. He shot 8. I shot 10 because that's the rules.
Do you just leave them there until the end of the hunt or?
Nah, we go get them, pile them up. Sometimes we leave them there. Depends how the hunt's sort of going, but we found a new spot when we were out. So we were out Sunday. That was when we got up. I mean, I feel bad for those city boys, man. Like we left my place at 4:30 in the morning. So my place is I'm an hour. What am I, an hour east of the city? Nate lives in the northwest.
Not that far, not an hour.
Pretty close. It's gotta be, I think for Miles it's about 45, and for Nate it's an hour. Because he's in the northwest, gotta come all the way around. So those guys, like Nate says, alarm for 2:45. 2:45 in the morning. So we could go all the way out there and like wait in park and walk in and bugle for elk, but trying to get him with the bow, but we didn't find any. I got my bow fucking tuned up right now, though. I'm hopefully we can find something. We'll go out again. I'm trying to get antelopes with the bow too. I don't know. I got a blind I could set up by a watering hole and just chill out. But I've gotten within 60 yards a couple times doing a couple different methods. Like one being a couple guys go and like try and push. I'll go and like hide out someplace and they'll take the truck up and then try and like, because where we're hunting the antelope is just so big and open, you know, there's hills and this and that, and they come into the decoy, but it also seems to work to like those guys go up past, and sometimes they can just push them, so they end up running past me unknowingly.
As long as the wind is not going from you to them, like did
Yeah,
they pick up your scent in the wind? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you use the wind. You got to watch the wind. You got to be super cognizant of the wind sort of at all times, where it's going, if it's switching around, if they can smell you.
Remind
But
me to
that helps a little bit. It definitely helps a little bit when they're all ruddy. So I have the like decoy. I got close anyway, though. I got close to like 60 yards twice. And my bow only goes up to 50 right now just because of where my sight's set and where my pin will dial to. It's like 50 is max. And I'll get a bullseye at 50 with that. So,
but you don't want to take a chance at 60, then you're sort of adjusting everything.
I need a pin. It's not like my rifle. My rifle, I know exactly what it does at different distances. I don't know what's going on with my bow. It's definitely, we're talking, it could be in another 10 yards. It could be another, what, 1.5 feet, 2 feet of drop. It's already like I can just see when I shoot the thing 30, 40 yards. You can see with your naked eye the up and down arc to it. It's moving a lot. There's a lot of up and down motion to it. I'm just not comfortable guessing on a small animal on where it's at, but it's pretty easy to get to about 60 to 70. So now that I'm home and I'm going to take a few days off, I'm going to probably tomorrow go and move my sight down and retape it all so I can get that thing up to at least 60. I mean, I'm not shooting 60 right now, so I'm going to get it up so that I have the option, I think, to go to 70 and then start shooting some 60s, which you seem crazy to me. Like a year ago I was like, how could people shoot that far? But it's like the farther you start, it's honestly seemed like 40 was the threshold. Once you got real locked in at 40, and then everything else from there seems to be almost the same thing, with the difference of once you shoot at 50 all day and you go shoot something at 30, it's like right there. It really makes a real difference on close range shooting. Makes it way easier. So I'm gonna open it up. I got my target pushed way back. I'm gonna push it further back and re-sight it in so I can dial that thing up to 60 or 70 and just see how I'm shooting at 60. I think I'll be pretty comfortable at 60. We'll see about 70, but if I can get that sighted in tomorrow and the next day, I'm not going to go out again until Friday. So that's when I'll try again. But I'd like to be just sort of locked in with a 70-yard pin. Because I'm pretty comfortable. I don't think there'll be much difference. Because I'm looking at antelopes that I'm comfortable. I'd like, I'm thinking to myself, I'd shoot this fucking thing if I had a pin for it right now. I can see it. I'm in the moment looking at this thing. I can take this shot if my bow will let me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to adjust that.
Did you have any electrical storms there recently at all? Or?
It's been kind of weird, stormy. Yeah, like up
drove through one. Like I chased one, unintentionally home the other day, and I went through it. I drove right through it. It was crazy. I thought it was going to
lightning just in the clouds, though. Doesn't like
no. It was mainly in the clouds, but it would come down every now and then. So that just made it a little bit more freaky because you'd see the fork come down, like right ahead of the road where I was driving. I saw a fork come right down on the road, like a couple miles away.
Seems late in the year to be getting storms, doesn't it?
And it was pouring rain, and then
poured rain here.
I thought it was gonna miss our town, and then I got home just before, and then it came, dude. It was lightning the whole. It was like a light was on. It was just flash, like constantly, and then the thunder rolled in, and it was like shaking the house, like going on and on and on, like.
Yeah, we had some
just rumbling, just shaking the house constantly. It was crazy.
Seems late, doesn't it? In September we get big.
I don't know. I just haven't really. I don't think I've really been in an electrical storm.
Must be the same storm. Must have came
constantly going.
Because it poured. I was surprised. It caught me totally off guard. I had stuff in the back of my truck, and I just like everything got soaked.
Yeah, it was visible. Like there was a visible edge to it. You know, and like when growing up on the coast and stuff, you always just it's always cloudy. You don't really see the edge of storms, right? They kind of come through. It's just always
Yeah,
rain,
here you can
bad.
see
But
it.
here is like you can just actually see that storm moving around. It's really weird.
Yeah, you could totally see that shit. Yeah, so we cleaned up on ducks today. We got I mean the head cams have been working pretty good. I mean, I got all these batteries that I have to charge. It's crazy. But I
Oh,
think
head cams, you said?
yeah, I'm up to I ended up needing 6. No, I ended up 4 batteries for each camera because 2 only last about 45 minutes each, I want to say, maybe an hour. I expect that to start going down as it gets colder as well to maybe 30 minutes or
Oh, that's not good. That's a pain, I guess. Now you're realizing, a bit
because
of
the
the
trick is to just you got to keep it rolling all the time instead of trying to turn it like the if I have a cam on the bow, it's easy. I mean, depends what we're hunting. If we're hunting grouse, I'll take the hat off, put the hat on, turn it back on. But if we're out hunting ducks or walking around looking for animals, it's best to just have that shit on sort of at all times. I mean, it'll just slip in as a habit eventually. There's a bunch of little habits that you're doing while you're hunting and just like, check it, switch it. Doesn't take long. But the hat seems to work best. I just drill a hole in the beak of my hat and bolted it on there. You can bolt it on and walk around. The cameras are surprisingly rugged. I mean, you know me, I'm pretty hard on shit. And I just like the batteries are, and there's a charged bag in the blind bag and a non charged bag, and the cameras are just in my blind bag or in my hunting sack. And they seem pretty good so far. I got a bunch more footage I'm going to put up on the YouTubes and see.
Oh, cool.
And then we'll just start figuring out sort of what works and what doesn't over the next year or so and see what we can come up with, if we can come up with anything watchable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, some of the stuff, I mean, you did put out your first kind of video there in the chats and stuff, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's where I'll be posting. It was on that YouTube channel. It was just Darren Grimes, but I switched it to Southern Alberta Hunting.
It was pretty funny hearing you guys laughing and swearing and stuff.
Yeah, we have to cut out large portions of. I have to be very careful of what, because I mean we talk about some shit when we're hunting, man. A lot of shit that I mean, a lot of the stuff you and I talk about, but just like a lot more uncensored and just say words maybe you're not supposed to say.
Speaking of that, we do get into in our outlawed roundup, which we just recorded. So it's Monday. This episode is coming out Monday, the 15th of September. We do have a little chat about the Charlie Kirk thing and all that in this roundup. If anybody's interested in our thoughts and what's going on with that, I found it fun to talk to you about it because I knew you were kind of out of the loop on stuff for the last few days out hunting, and we hadn't even talked for the last few days. So we just kind of got caught up on the show together, really, with the whole thing. So
Yeah, I tend to tune out in 3 or 4 day bursts now. It's quite nice. It really gets down. You know how you get that like email from your phone that what your weekly screen time is? I don't know if you get that. I get like a weekly thing that says this is your daily average of time you looked at your phone, but it goes down so far in hunting season. It's crazy. The steps go up and the screen time goes down. I had my 1 year anniversary just the other day too. That was Saturday. Saturday? Today's Monday, right? So that's
it was Saturday. Yeah.
went all the way to the big city.
What'd you do?
Proper big city, right down on Stephen Avenue, Calgary.
Wow.
Well, we went and did an escape room.
Oh, cool.
Did not get out. But it was still fun. We're good at that kind of stuff together. You know, we handle that kind of thing well without, some people get all wound up. It was pretty chill. You know, we probably would have got out, but we got real hung up on just the first thing. Totally, we're like overthinking it, trying all these different things. And it was like, you just had to write down. You just had to write down like every fifth word in this, and it makes a sentence. So once we got past the first thing, we kind of smoked through for a bit, and then ran out of time in the last room.
So that was downtown. The escape room was downtown. Did you go for dinner?
The escape room was just kind of on the way.
Yeah.
Went to the escape room, then went out for dinner. And then I mean the nice thing about the escape room, it was cheap too. I gotta say, like, because you pay per person. So if 5 people go and they all pay their own way, it's only like $35 each or something like that. But even for 2 of us to go for $70, there's not much. I can't go duck hunting for $70, man. You know what I mean? By the time I end up the fuel I'm spending to drive out there and the shells, especially duck hunting, especially, is not like regular hunting's cheap. I get my meat super cheap. It costs me like $3, or if I make a bad shot, maybe $6. But you get into shooting ducks, man, and it's just like all day, and then you get in the thick of the moment and you're shooting at ducks you got no business shooting at. They're like out of range, so you're just like shooting shooting shells into the air for no good reason. I got a pretty good connection on cheap shells, but they're still $1 each. Pretty hard to find them for anything under $1 each.
Yeah, that'll add up quick.
The upland lead is a little cheaper. It's like you get that for maybe 75 cents. I mean, dude, you
I
find
wonder why people make their own stuff, eh?
you find old boxes where you get the same box of rounds that's now $26, which is a super good deal on the ammo. I'm a decent ammo for $26 for Canadian for 25 shells, and that used to be like $3.
Wow.
Like 30 years, 40 years ago, that'd be $3-4. Yeah. Now it's fucking nuts. Ducks are expensive, and they feed you the least, but they're the funnest. And you can just sort of go do it every day. I'm gonna take. So we went out for dinner someplace downtown, right on Stephen Avenue. It was busy. It was quite busy for Saturday, but I got a decent parking spot. Food was good. A lot less diverse than I expected. It was pretty much the same as it was the last time I was down there.
Any weird looks on your truck about your truck at all or anything?
Well, I didn't bring my truck. No, we brought the car. We brought the wife's car.
Right.
My truck's a pain to park.
That's why, yeah.
It's
Plus
loud.
Yeah. Plus it's it's got some stickers on there that might offend some people.
It's just going into downtown Calgary, it's just like I'm just asking for a fight, probably. Especially when I'm with my lady, someone start bipping. They'll start bipping. Then the next thing you know, I gotta fucking bobber somebody. And it's just like I don't want someone to fuck with my truck and have to, it's a country truck. Not that I think I'd have any problems with it. The main problem I worry about bringing my truck into it is I keep fucking guns in it during hunting season. And I don't want them getting stolen in Calgary.
Yeah.
Like even going, I wouldn't even have thought of that 5 years ago. I'd just be like, lock it, it's fine. But I have my truck's not hard to get into. It's like, anything pre-2010 or I don't know, they're all probably pretty easy to get into if you're I feel like if I was breaking into cars, man, and I was doing it like on the regular. The only time I've ever broken into cars is when I've locked my keys into it. And I've yet to been like actually not being able to get my keys. So I feel like if I was like a criminal doing this 3-4 times a night, you'd have a hard time finding a truck, especially an old one that I couldn't get into in seconds. So it's just easier to leave it here. They're both diesel, so they're both cheap to run around in. Hers is probably a little cheaper, honestly.
When's your truck then? When's your trip? Your hunting trip coming up?
But the boys get here in a week from Wednesday.
A week from Wednesday. Okay, so that would be the 17th, so the 23rd kind of thing.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I mean that YouTube channel, people, we should make Johnny a lord. I mean, he's the guy who bought the camera equipment for filming the YouTube channel.
Is he not a lord yet?
He's not. I don't think he's a lord yet. I don't know how he seems to slip through, but he supports everything, comes to the trips, and then bought some. He wanted to see the hunts, so he's like, "If I buy some camera gear, will you film the hunts?" And I've been like talking about it and on the fence for a while, so I was just like, "Fuck it, yeah." We've been doing it, so that's thanks to Johnny. Lord Johnny is something. He'll be out here in a little while, week and a half. Thing, and he keeps telling me that he's got you convinced to come out. He's like,
I told him I can't promise anything. I mean, I'm gonna try and slip away for a day, but
sounds like he feels like you've promised.
No, I was very clear about that.
We get you migratory pretty easy if you want to blast some ducks.
I'd love to. I would love to, you know, help you guys out. But
You know who else says they're coming is Lord Paul.
oh, cool. Yeah,
Lord Paul Jasper just for the weekend.
yeah,
So we could have a pretty good crew going for the weekend. At least down the lake. Miles will be coming. Should be a blast. I
yeah.
found
It'd
some
be good to
good
see him
spots.
again.
I mean, I've found some good duck spots now just out hunting other stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm in the position that I got like just a primo fucking like we found this spot the
you're
other
gonna
day.
have like 4 or 5 awesome spots to go to.
We're driving along looking for elk and we're just like, holy shit, look at all the fucking ducks on that lake. And then we start driving around a little bit. Because you find a lot of these sloughs on the plains, but then there's just like nowhere to fucking set up. You know, like trying to hide yourself no matter how good you do it. It's like you're always just sticking out. You end up sticking out, but there's just some few little scraggly trees down on the south end. So we were there. I was like, fuck, man. And then there's another little pond off behind that you catch some travel back and forth. So I was like, fucking right away, me and Miles were like, that's a fucking primo duck spot. So I went back this morning and tried it out. Sure enough, we got fucking 20 ducks, almost 18 ducks, and probably like an hour 45. We were there 2.5, but we were sort of there longer than we needed to be. It was dragging out by then. We had the morning rush was over. There was still some geese flying around though, so it gets hard to leave sometimes. And I mean, the other cool thing about duck hunting is like, dude, I'm making coffee. You know, it's like in between shooting some ducks, I just creep around into the little cover there, and I got my jet boil coffee maker, French press, make some coffee. I got the lunch the wife made me. I got my fucking weed there. You know, it's just like
You think the ducks would learn to like avoid the coffee smell eventually? They're gonna evolve to like hate
the
coffee.
smell does not such a thing with ducks. The talking's not such a thing. It's like when the ducks are coming in, you shut the fuck up, but you're there. You can see when they're coming in and then when there's no ducks around. Whereas most of the other hunting we do, it's like you're just shutting the fuck up. There's a lot of shutting the fuck up. Like I've just deleted hours and hours of video because it's like unless someone just wants to watch me walk through the woods, then this is unusable content. You know, I save some of it here and there for B-roll. And not only that, I don't want to give away a bunch of content of me walking around in the woods too much because I don't want anyone figuring out where the fuck I'm at. You know, I've got some real gems that I don't want other people figuring out. I'm fine to show the hunts. And honestly, you know what the other thing is that of all the stuff I watch, because I watch a load of the content, is the number one thing I catch myself saying when I'm watching other people hunting videos is let's fucking go, man. Get to the fucking hunting. I don't care about why you're hunting or how much you love hunting or like that could be the whole episode where you do that. But this episode is titled this. So this is like what I'm here for. That I want to see a little. I just don't want to see bam. I want to see a little rigmarole. But it's like I watch a 20-minute video and I'm like, man, this should be 7 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's duck hunting, I don't give a fuck, man. I just want to see ducks going down the whole time. Maybe a little thing of how you set up. Show me your decoy spread, and then show me the aftermath. And that's unless it's like I do watch a lot of videos that are like how to do this or how to do that, how to set up some decoys, how to call, how. Then I'm watching it for that. But if I'm like lying in bed at night with the wife and we're just watching, we'll say happy anniversary to on the show, the Queen of Grimerica, and we're just watching some hunting videos. That's the number one complaint I always have is this like, man, why is this video 27 minutes long? This video should be like 20 minutes of this. I do not give a fuck. I can show me him miss the elk once or twice. Great. That's like builds a little suspense. It's a bit captivating, but I don't need to watch like 20 minutes of you like missing elk and wandering around the mountainside. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So anyway, I forget what I was talking about. But Lord Johnny, thanks, Johnny. We appreciate it. So there's that Southern Alberta hunting, if people want to check that out. Since I switched it to that, we lost 2 subscribers. I don't even know how I had any subscribers. You know what videos were on there? There's the video of the owl compilation where I put the trail cam that showed the owls from egg to flying away from the nest, which I really thought would get more views, but it didn't. Didn't seem fitting to put it on Grimerica. And, you know, just a weird owl video would fuck up our algo. So I threw it on there, and then I guess I accidentally posted one or two of the trailers when we were doing our Rockfin show way back in the day on that YouTube channel instead of the main one. So those were on there as well. And someone's just like, is there any other videos following this up? So anyway, we do have another person to thank. Of course, if you head over to grimerica.ca/support today and sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation, it helps us keep podcasting. Helps us keep surviving and eating and doing what we're doing, living the dream. Thanks to some of you, trying to at least. It's still a struggle. Be cool if it was less of a struggle because more you supported. So, on that note, we want to thank Nicholas Salima, who came in with $10.71. I don't know if there's some numerology there, but thank you, Nicholas. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. What else we got? Adultbrain.ca. Hey, we're on Spotify now. So, I should mention that. So we started putting a bunch of the videos on Spotify, and they allow us to do the subscription thing. So I figure since Rockfin went to shit and all that. So I've been re-uploading all of the videos we put on YouTube onto Spotify, and they've been doing pretty well on there. So then they offered us this paywall sort of thing. So I started throwing the roundup videos and stuff on there, and all the outlawed videos on there as well. So if people want to get that over there or watch the roundups, that's the way to do. People have been asking about supporting on Spotify forever. So you can now, and even if you don't really want to watch any of that content, but you watch on Spotify and you were looking for a way to support the show, you can now sign up for a subscription on Spotify for, I think, like $9 a month Canadian. So that's the way to do that. And new way to, I guess Spotify does video now. I don't know, but we're trying it out. And it's honestly doing way better than our YouTube video ever did. So we'll see what happens. Right?
Yep. We got to try everything we can. I mean, like we were just talking about how our A-list got, we were doing this Canadian news thing, and it was like probably one of the, the tamest, most sort of vanilla things we were doing. We're just talking about Canadian politics and news and stuff and culture. And we were doing really good on TikTok, and we had some really good momentum on YouTube. And I don't know how the podcast was doing, probably slower nowadays. But then TikTok banned us. So, I mean, we can't even make it work with some of our tamer content. And then YouTube, we had to, all these people are not saying words like drugs, and they're saying, what else? There's they're self-censoring.
Code words.
Using a bunch of code words, and we're just not good at using code, and we don't want to. So that didn't work out.
Here we are.
Where was I going with that?
Support the show.
Oh, just we're trying to, anything we can, really. We have to try and, make sure we don't have to do more day. I mean, I'm working still painting on the side just to keep the bills paid, but we're hoping to just keep things going here so we can continue not working full-time day jobs. I mean, that's the goal here.
That's the goal. And you can help us achieve that goal. You right now listening can help. Go to grimerica.ca/support and signing up for $1 a month. That'll do it. That if all you did that, boom, we'd be laughing maniacally. Maybe not.
Or a one-time donation. That would help.
Or a one-time donation like we just got from James there. So it all helps. We appreciate it. We love you. Have you got a bio?
I already read it at the beginning, but you can go to innertraditions.com, Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate as well for that. And then you can also go to Chintamanatrix.com. That's his website as well. So CHINTAMAN. So Chintaman matrix.com. Also I put an Amazon link in there for his book as well in the show notes. So
there you have it, guys. We hope you enjoyed our lazy ramblings. Please support the show. Most of all, enjoy the chat with Johndennis Govert.
All right. We are with Johndennis Govert. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
It is my pleasure to be here.
This will be fun. Before we get into your upcoming release, your book, The Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate, you've got a fantastic, super fascinating background. Let's talk a little bit about kind of, your experience in, a bunch of your practices from the Eastern traditions there. Like, let's get into a little bit about you, and then we'll talk about your upcoming book.
Okay, sounds good. So where do you want me to start with that?
You've got some lineages and some very interesting, practices. Maybe we can get into a little bit about that. Some of your, your Zen or Kriya Yoga, that kind of stuff. Some of your multidisciplinary things.
Sure. Back in the day when the Vietnamese War was happening, right? I was a conscientious objector, and so one of the things that I noticed about myself that I didn't like was I would get really angry about people who were anti-war. The people being violent about nonviolence. It was crazy. So I immediately thought I need to work on my own mental state. So
that's interesting because those are people being violent about violence that were instilling feelings of violence in you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And they were mad. They were mad that I was trying to be nonviolent. I didn't know how to deal with that.
That's still going on today. It seems.
I think it is going on. Yeah.
Maybe worse.
It's going on everywhere, wherever you can see it. So but I couldn't deal with the whole society. I could only deal with me. So I got led to doing meditation, and the one that just sort of like popped up for me that was good was a Zen meditation. And then I was doing my alternate service in Iowa City, and sat with the group and did some things like that. And then when it was all over, I went back to where I lived, which was the Chicago area, and then subsequently went to school. But I continued to continue to do the practice, and I never intended to like rack up any of these like accolades or anything, like a resume. I was just out. I wanted meditation competence. That was really the thing from what it could promise. And I was looking in the beginning for peace of mind, and then along the way, I got pulled into doing. Like within the Zen practice, there's a lot of stuff dealing with energy, chi, and then one of the sister things that you find out is like there's this whole side of things called the arts or the Do or the Tao, and there are a number of like arts where you can kind of check your mind, check yourself. So one of them is the martial arts. Another one's calligraphy. Healing is another one. I mean. You just pick any kind of art from the East, and there's a way that you can connect it to check like your progress, and it was used that way. So I connected with the healing side of things, and then I was also led to study some Tai Chi, and so I was exploring a number of those things and doing them fairly seriously. And then I ended up finally getting an MBA in healthcare, and started working in that field. But everything just sort of like led me into the field and then out of the field, because eventually then I was helping to start an acupuncture school in Seattle a bunch of years later. And so that sort of shifted, and then everything that I had learned. On the Zen side was exactly what I needed. It was like, how do you deal with energy? And there was like healing, putting energy in and using your fingers for energy and healing. So there's a number of things that weren't like, like going to school for it, but it was like transmitted with the everything you're doing, because you injure yourself when you're doing martial arts, certainly, but you don't think you'd injure yourself doing meditation, but you do, because you're sitting there for a while and your legs are in trouble and your back's in trouble and your shoulders are in trouble. And so, you just sort of like get this set of information. So anyway, that's how the Zen part unfurled for me. And then how the Kriya connection came about was a bunch of my classmates were, worried about getting hired before they got graduated, right? So they were all like sending out there were 6,000 hospitals at that time. So they were sending out letters to everything. And I thought, I just can't do that. So I heard about this really great astrologer, and it turned out he was a Kriya Yoga Swami. But I was going for the astrology, and where I got hooked in it was like he was saying that you're going to get a job, but he said you won't get one until like the September after you graduate. And he gave me a date, September 15th. And so I thought, well, okay, then that summer I wasn't really too worried about, like not having a job, so to speak. It's like I had spent 2 years getting an MBA and I don't have a job. I'm like a piker, like somebody who right, isn't applying themselves. And then a bunch of, out of nowhere, a bunch of interviews that came up. And then I got interviewed by the city of Chicago, and I was going to take the job. And then I didn't, because they didn't give me a really good offer. Then they came back with another offer. So the weird thing that happened was September 15th was my first day at work. I mean, and he had said this time plus or minus 6 weeks. It's like, this is somebody who didn't know me. All he had was 4 pieces of data: my name, my birth date, my birthplace, my birth time. That was it. All of that. That was it. So that, made me have to like rethink things. But there's also a side to that when you look at it, that sort of karma or destiny, if you want to look at it that way. But it's also a way to see how your practice is going. It's like, because each iteration of this that happens, and that's how you look at things, is that, if there's something that's supposed to happen now, and then the next time the cycle comes, whether it's a year or 12 years or whatever, is the problem that you're facing as intense or not? And if it's not as intense, well, then you've lessened your karma. So it was a particular practice with that. But there was also some meditative things that I ended up learning, where there was like a different kind of discussion in the yogic schools about how the energy body of a human being is. Whereas in the Zen side, it was very practical. It's just, you sit down, you do your stuff, you get up, and then you move on. You do practices, and you don't get into like heavy analysis of things. And then when I started the acupuncture school with a group of people in Seattle, there was sort of like a different problem. But the main thing is I was meeting a lot of really interesting healers. I mean, really incredible healers that understood this energy healing. During that period of time, then I connected with some Tibetan healers, which was now a different kind. So I had the Ayurvedic healers, the traditional Chinese medicine healers, and I've got the Tibetan healers. And I was really blessed to meet all these people, but it's like I couldn't work with all of them at the same time, because, there was no sort of like back in the day after Nixon went to China, it opened the floodgates for, doing acupuncture in the United States, but it was still pretty restricted.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really restricted.
Yeah, very new and fresh back then. So I wanted something that you said about checking your mind through art. Can you explain that a little bit more, what you meant by all these different modalities of art and how you use that to check your mind?
Sure. So like one of them is just like a teacher would watch you walk.
Okay.
And it's like, are they displaying confidence? But not only confidence, but confidence and just complete ease. so that it's like you're not like being crazy about looking everywhere for a threat, but you're just so open that if something happened martial arts wise, you could deal with it in that moment. And so, I mean, I'm just using the martial arts as one of the possibilities. So it's kind of, looking at just how you move, what kind of grace you have, because you can do anything where you're like totally controlling, or you can be totally at ease with whatever so almost so much so that you forget it. And it's like that's what they're looking at. So another one is doing calligraphy, and they would have you do, like if you were interested in this, you would do calligraphy, and then, a master could look at what you'd just done and said, oh, well, you hesitated there. It's like, you're overthinking it. I could see it in, it's like, it's like the gong show, beep, that's not a very good result. And then so you're working on it again, but it's this whole thing of like trying to forget yourself, because when you're learning something, you're completely
in the flow, right? You're trying to get
you're trying to get into the flow, but it's like you don't know the technique yet. So it's like, was that good enough? Was that, it's like, but at some point you get it so much that it's no longer there. Like riding a bike, when you're first riding a bike, it's you don't know what to do, and then when you're later on, it comes second nature, and that's what we're kind of looking at here, second nature.
So what your third Dharma lineage, the Tibetan Buddhism, is that meeting those Tibetan healers, did that then send you down the path towards more of a Tibetan Buddhism, or?
It did. It sort of like added that in. And then there's a part of Tibetan Buddhism that's called the Great Perfection. Dzogchen is the Tibetan name for it. And it's like almost exactly the same as Zen in a way, but it's almost like there was a Zen strain that didn't make it back into the, but the whole thing of it was, I had some really great teachers, but it really wasn't until I ended up meeting Master Chuan, who he's Chinese, but he was a Tibetan Nyingma master. And so he was the one that was transmitting this whole, spiral dragon to me. And that's when when things just opened up even more at that point.
When was that?
In 1989.
Wow. Okay.
I had just moved to Seattle, or back to Seattle, and after being in the LA area, and it was like almost immediately I ended up meeting him, and he had just gotten there himself from China, and he came sort of after that. Remember the Tiananmen Square stuff that happened back in the day?
Yeah.
He came like right after that. And then ultimately that allowed him to become a citizen of the United States, because it was political asylum for anybody who happened to come in those like month or two around that time, and it was like perfect for him to be able to settle here in the United States.
So how did you get interested in feng shui then? When did that come about?
It came about because when I was doing hospital administration stuff, I ended up doing architectural things, because I was a planner. And so they're thinking like, well, the only kind of planning we need is architectural kind of planning. It's like, well, what about the program planning? I mean, like, what are we going to do, right? As a organization. And I just ran into such craziness in doing it. It was like learning it backwards in a way. And then I realized at some point, I've studied everything that I need to study. I've studied like omenology, Chinese characters, healing, architecture. I mean, it was like, it just added up. It was like, suddenly it just checked all the boxes. It's like, well, you've studied everything that you need to know to do this. So I started doing it for myself and for friends. And then that just was one of those things that, kind of blossomed into a vocation that I had never planned. And obviously I didn't even know it as a kid. I didn't even know what feng shui was.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it being pretty popular probably in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s or something like that. Did you catch that? Were you part of that the growth of it all back then?
In a way I was, because I wrote a book about it in like 92, 93
Yeah.
On feng shui. And then I hit the wave just right. I mean, that was luck. And then the interior designers wanted me to like teach on this book that I'd done. And so, then I was traveling all over the United States just doing seminars and then I would go into a place. I remember I was in Michigan and I had this big explanation and I said, well, this is like Tai Chi. And I went on and then I just see these blank faces in the crowd. And then I said, I don't think you understand anything I'm talking about. And then a couple of brave people said, no, what are you talking about?
So how did you dumb it down for them then?
Well, I just it took all the Chinese philosophy out of it and just made it like procedural.
Yeah, exactly.
And just said, well, you can feel this and you can do this. And, instead of just referring to it, I thought I was going to just turbocharge their learning by picking up on something that I thought, because I thought it's Michigan. It should be like, Northern Illinois or something. There should be a lot of information about this Tai Chi and stuff like that. It was like, well, there is, but not with this group.
So can you explain feng shui to people if they're not sure what that is and how important it is for design, I guess?
Yeah, it's like how does place affect you? It's like, how does it shape your interactions? How does it shape what happens? It's like what happens. It's like, and then I did that with, like in planning, there's the part of management that's like that. It's like, well, where do people sit? If you want a good meeting, where do you put somebody and where, how do you like organize the room? So that it's not like it isn't in the West.
It's not
it's
just
like we've got it.
It's not just like room design, right?
No, it's not room design, because obviously in management, you're doing it for outcomes.
Right.
And then I was working for a Catholic hospital, and then they realized I was doing feng shui, and I said, we want to put this doctor over here, like with his back to the door and stuff like that. It was one of these doctors that had an opinion on everything that doesn't matter, right? but he would dominate, and then after a few meetings where he was like toned down, it's not like, he was silenced in any way. It's just like more people could get their 2 cents in a meeting. And then the nun who was the administrator said, this stuff really works. She said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, Darren, do you have any questions before we go?
Well, I wouldn't mind unpacking that feng shui stuff a little bit more. How can you bring that into your like personal life? How can someone sort of bring this into their home?
Well, there's like 4 different ways. One is like there's the shape of things that you're in, and so like even like if you sit at a round table, like we're just going to go to a restaurant. You sit at a round table, and the round table actually spins energy. It's considered really yang, so it's like if you're at one, you never have a long conversation with people. It's just chat, and then if you exceed like 8 people, then then you never get a good conversation, because you're beyond like the human amount, like which is 7 other people in you. So like 8 is like the maximum that you can get together and be on the same page. If you go beyond that, then you've got like at least 2 things going on. But if you have a square, it gets people seated there for a long time. So then you start playing with it, and then you realize, do I want to spend a long time with this person? And it's like, no, this guy's really boring. I think let's, and then when you go to the coffee shop or something, you'll say, oh, let's just sit at that little round table over there. Right? But it's somebody you want to have a conversation with. It's like, let's go in the corner. But I mean, people do that at restaurants. If you want to be quiet, you go to a booth that's out of the way if you want to have a conversation, because it's that, that's geometry. So there's shape, there's like direction, which doesn't come into it too much. You have to like pay more attention to it. There's like the energy of things, which is like how do things actually feel? How does the energy flow? Which you could say it's like, well, you don't put your chair, like your desk, you don't put your desk chair in a corridor or like a space where people are going to pass through, because that energy shoots past you, and it just, it's not horrible, but it just keeps distracting you. So you get distracted so many times in a day, and then at the end of the day, you say, "Well, why? I mean, why didn't I get that much done? I mean, I was here a long time." And so, but you pay attention to that. And the other weird thing is you pay attention to the symbols in your room, or in your house. And all the symbols have they actually kind of manifest things in your life. They're not, it seems like they're just things kind of quirky that you like, but may not, it actually turns out to be things end up popping up. So, I mean, to give you an example, there's definitely more women that were into feng shui than men. And so if I was doing the house of a single woman and I'd be going around, I would look at just the photos that she had in her house and the pictures, and it'd be like a woman alone, 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 a woman alone. And then I'd say, well, what's your kind of goal? Because you're trying to, set your, like, what's the purpose of this room? What's the purpose of your house? And she says, well, I want a relationship. It's like, well, what you're saying to the universe is, I want to be alone. And the universe is delivering on that. Right? Apparently, it's totally delivering on it.
That makes sense.
And then I've seen just where they change a few things, and then it's like I hear from them. And it's like I met somebody now. Like you're not expecting it to go great the first time, but it shifts. Shifts the whole, dynamic of the whole thing for their lives. And then like maybe a year later, they're in a relationship they like.
Yeah, I seem to remember the direction being the thing that people were talking about a lot in the 90s and the 2000s. So like the way you put your bed towards the south, was it, or something? What when you say direction, is that like northeast, southwest kind of thing?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. And then, I mean, the main one is just like north is magnetic north, right? So the way of doing that is like at night, if you sleep and you put your head to the north and your feet to the south, then you're aligning your body in the magnetic flow of the planet. So it's like it helps your dreams, it helps your mind, but it's a gentle thing, right? I mean, it's not like, a wild amount of energy that's there, but it's the repetition of stuff that you do. But then you can ask yourself, well, is this north-south thing stronger than where your bed is placed relative to a corridor or a door? Or if like you sleep with your back to a window, or your head to a window, what happens then? And, the main thing really on all of this is anybody who spends any time just like feeling their environment, what I'm saying? And it's just like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. If you just keep working with that and asking yourself, why doesn't it feel right? And then you'll make like a little adjustment, another little adjustment. And then before you know it, you've got something right. So for people who pay attention to what they're doing and then work with it just to get it right for themselves, 80% of the time they've got the feng shui, they're doing the right feng shui thing. And there's some people that just have no clue, and they, and the people that are burned the most are people who just jump into something and they accept it the way it is and they don't change it, and they don't even give it a second thought. And then, they get very unhappy with it, but they don't know why. It doesn't work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is
Darren,
that limited to like design and stuff like that, or does that go into your clothing? And is that like a whole?
Well, it can't go in the clothes. I mean, because all of the directions are connected to colors. They're connected to elements. So, I mean, it's sort of like a way of how you're inviting that energy kind of in. And then it depends on where you live. Do you have a mountain behind you? Do you have like an apartment block behind you? Do you have, does the hill go up from your door? So every time you go out your door, you have a struggle to get up, as opposed to the person who just walks out flat, or, they're going down a little bit. All of those things have like these effects on what you're doing. And then the design is like that, just to kind of get things comfortable and useful for however you're going to use the room. So you have to say that to yourself. What do I want out of this room?
That all seems pretty practical in a lot of ways, really, right? Like a lot of it is pretty intuitive. If you put your desk in the hallway, you're gonna have a bunch of interrupt. It's a lot more. I always pictured feng shui as being more sort of woo woo than I mean, that all seems pretty grounded in practicality.
There is, and the problem was a lot of the people who got into feng shui made it more woo-woo than it needed to be. Right?
You know what I was thinking about, and Darren, I don't know if your head went there too, is because we haven't really talked about this ever, feng shui, but I thought of the sacred geometry and architecture in the cathedral building, and like how they used natural principles like the Fibonacci and the phi ratios and all this to build these sacred buildings, and wondered if feng shui had anything if that was a part of feng shui, or maybe it was called something different in those types of traditions,
Yeah, I mean, each what I found is each culture has a set of information about this. Some of it is more detailed, like in India and in China, it's really there's a lot of information all in one spot. And then the Hawaiians have, certain things in their environment that they'll talk about, but it's everywhere. And certainly the cathedral builders, it was all about. But like one of the weird things about the cathedrals is you got these giant, roofs, right? And it's like, if you go into a building like that, it pulls you up, which is what you want to do. You want to be inspired. But if you happen to have one of these over your desk that's really high, it pulls you up, but it's like, but I got to type here. I got to
be grounded at my desk.
What about the modern high rise and stuff like that? So stacking people on top of each other, does that fuck shit up?
Yeah, it does, depending on where the people are and what the angles of it are. And I mean, the main thing too is like, are there like triangles that get pointed at you from other buildings, which tends to be aggressive, whereas a square is like more normal. But it's like, if you go into a bar, and you want to start a fight, you do this, you point at somebody, which is like a triangle, and then, but if you're the person who's the wingman who's trying to stop the fight, you go, hey, and you create a wall, it's like we automatically do this stuff. It's part of us, but it just we don't filter it back to reflect more on it's like, these just behaviors that come normally are applicable to our environments.
Do you have any more?
Kind of natural. It's like if you came up to a table, you would never set yourself up on the corner of the table. You'd always go to both sides because it's better. You never want to be the guy sitting on the corner if it's someone has to sit on the corner situation.
Right. If you're the last person there and they put the chair there, you're like, oh. But yeah, you do. If you're the first one there, you never take that spot. Never.
Do you have any more insight about the cathedrals at all besides the height?
Well, it depends on how they do. Like, in the old cathedrals, they're like the cross form. Yeah. And the interesting thing is it creates like different churches. It's like different groups, because it's like you've got like one part of the crossover on one side. So that those people are in a different space. The people over here are in a different space, and the people down the middle are in a different space. And then the choir is at a different space, wherever they're at. And then the people celebrating are in a different space. So it's like you got all these different groups, and it's like, are they going to connect? And then that's where you get people that say, I always sit in this part of the church, because they're comfortable with whatever they get at that spot. And then they get grumpy if you move them, you change their experience, because it's like they don't like sitting way out in the open. They like it with the lower area of the roof above them, and they don't like the giant cathedral windows there. So
the thing I was most blown away with was just the acoustics in those places. I mean, it really was something because I was in the one in Canterbury when they started playing the organ in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, you could it was amazing how this thing could echo through the whole building. You can hear that so clearly, but you can't hear the people chattering on the other side of the room. It's really this sort of weird thing.
Yeah, it is a weird thing, but there's just a lot of thought that really went into those.
Like super feng shui.
Yeah, and you wouldn't call it feng shui because it wasn't Chinese related at the time, but it was a different set of cultural principles, and it was based on Fibonacci partly, and the Fibonacci creates the spiral. So I mean that's like one of the things that the spiral of life, the spiral of living things, the spiral of growth.
Interesting comment in the chats here from Orfeo Tresula. There are primary forces that structure and frame physics and call it magnetism. And he says, or they say, the best science has to deal with them, but so have the best traditions.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Like the interesting thing is, like my teacher, Master Chuan, used to say, he said, actually, at the highest level, Buddhism is science. He goes, but Buddhists will not admit to that. And he goes, and the scientists will not admit to the fact that they're studying Buddhism.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the highest level, science gets pretty metaphysical. I mean, no matter what direction you go in, it starts to get weird.
Yeah, it does.
So what has that been like for you to see science and spirituality kind of combine at the highest level over a lot? Because you've been into this for decades. I mean, you're talking about going back to the 80s, 90s, right?
Oh, yeah.
Must be weird for you to watch it all evolve.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's it's like my dad was a chemist, and then it turns out, and then my brother became a chemist, and then it turns out that Master Chuan was a chemist, and then my dad's side of the family was German, and Master Chuan's first foreign language was German, and he actually translated from German to Chinese, Chinese to German, so it was like he didn't have a lot. What was great for me was he didn't have a lot of. He was like a scientist in let's investigate it. You know what I mean? It's like keep an open mind, just investigate it, see what's there. And so he didn't really have a lot of the pre thought out notions of like what should it be or what should it not be. Let's just look at it. And I was sort of brought up with that, so it worked for me in a sense. But the more you kind of study this stuff, you realize, oh yeah, that's that kind of principle. And then just the other weird thing with Chinese medicine, it's like there's like you're talking about the Fibonacci, there's this incredible proportionality that goes on in the human body that's measured by how many fingers high everything is. And it turns out that, like you get up to here, it's 96 fingers from your feet to top. And if you go 1, 2, 3, you're at the sacred number of 108. So it's like, well, where does that number come from? Well, your body is like entrained into that proportion, and then between the chakras, there's either 4 or 6. I mean, it's like there's this incredible proportionality that you discover as you just look at this, and you realize just how amazingly structured it really is in a way, but you don't give it a thought because it's like very cash when you just look at it.
Yeah, and then the ancients used a lot of that in their architecture too, and in their and I mean, it comes from Darren and I have been talking about that 108 as far as celestial mechanics too, because it does go all the way up to solar and lunar mechanics, and then it comes all the way down to the body. I mean, it really is in everything.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the weird part about it, and that 108 measures distance and it measures time. And it's just like it's a divider like 1. You put 108 into that some number that you've got, and you get like 60 of these or 12 of those, and it's like you get just a whole number.
It's like an octave too, because then from 108, 216, and 432 are very important numbers, and then it goes up and up, and those numbers are repeated in all kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it works.
That's fascinating. So I guess let's get into your book. Like, so what you were shown the Dharma, the spiral dragon Dharma, I guess, a long time ago. So now you've written a book about it. It's coming out soon. Do you want to get into that? Or?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's called Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate, which is what the name of this is in Chinese. Because actually, is what I looked at. I mean, my teacher and his teacher were both Chinese, but they were masters of Tibetan Buddhism, which made them like really unusual people right? Like crossing that kind of culture. But it was before the PRC took over everything, right? But the practice is like, it's considered a treasure practice, which means that in Tibetan Buddhism, there's certain things that get shown to masters at different times where it like recodifies or represents how to do practice. And it's sort of like you're doing the changes. It's not like it's required, but the change is easier for the people of this time to practice in this way. It's not like they couldn't get their heads around it, but they probably won't get their heads around like something from a farther back place in time. But in this case, they're able to sort of like pick up on something. And so usually there's different kinds of categories, which aren't really important to go into at this moment, but some are just categories where it gets directly downloaded into your mind or to your energy body. So that happened with Master Chuan's teacher, whose name was Senton Dorje. So she was at age 18, she treks across China, goes to Tibet, goes to a monastery, and then she does a 13-year retreat in a cave. And while she's in this cave, this particular practice of spiral dragon is shown to her.
Wow.
And then she works it out, and then later on she leaves, and that she's one of these people who's like a wandering yogi. And then she comes across Master Chuan at a later time and shows him, how to do this particular practice. But I was asking him, I said, well, how did she explain this to you? And then he was kind of like a little bit miffed. He said, she never explained it to me. He said, she just showed me how to do it. It's like, he said, I've spent the rest of my life figuring out why it's done this way and how to improve it and any of that stuff. So that was kind of his sense of it. It's really simple. There's like 5 moving exercises, and there's a meditation. And then, so it's like, it's structured, but that it accounts for like you going off and like pursuing some stuff on your own, like investigating it. So the name that comes with it, Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate, is the spiral has to do with the spirals, DNA up to spiral galaxies, right? So spirals across dimensions or magnitudes. And then, of course, like you're saying, the Fibonacci, that creates spirals. So it's like it's in line with that. And the thing is that the spiral allows is for acceleration to happen. So it speeds up 2 things. Like the purpose of this that Senton Dorje got was, number one, it's important at this period of time for people to step up, like human beings, to step up and be able to realize like their full potential, and do what they're supposed to do on the planet, what they came here for, and getting everybody to do that is what's going to fix the planet. Not by like everybody agreeing in the government, but just everybody activating their own potentials and skills and moving forward with it. And so it leads to it's the first acceleration. The second one is enlightenment. And so it is a long journey. I was remembering when Master Chuan was asked, somebody asked him and said, well, this is faster than regular Tibetan Buddhism. And he said, well, if you're considering lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, if you go into a monastery and you can achieve enlightenment in 30 years, he said, that's pretty fast. But then he said, Spiral Dragon is faster. And he said that, he says, we don't have 30 years. It's like you don't have 30 years. Nobody has 30. It's like, and he meant like individual humans. We each don't have 30 years to get this done. So it's got to be done faster. So this particular method came forward. So you don't even have to spend the 30 years doing it. You have quicker way.
It's funny. I've heard the faster way called the straight path, the spiral path being the slow, long traditional way, and the straight path kind of cutting right through. But this is interesting to hear it the other way.
Yeah, it's like it's the spiral does something different. And so the very first two exercises of the whole thing put you into like the spiral dynamic, let's say. Okay. And it's not like you've never been in the spiral dynamic before. It's like all of the exercises of Spiral Dragon are things that you've done with your body before. It just moves, you know. The only thing is you just haven't concentrated it. You know, it's like you haven't kept up like a pattern and repeated it. But to get to the spiral dynamic is the first most important thing. So even if you do that, so the first part of the spiral dynamic is you have to relax, because it's like you'll never get anywhere without relaxing. And then the second part of it is you sort of relax your spine, you put your head back, and it sort of creates like it hooks you into a different kind of energy. And some people will feel it within the first maybe 10 minutes of them like learning this. And at the longest, it takes you like a week of practice to like get yourself into the spiral dynamic, but it's usually pretty quick. I mean, the main thing is like people that takes a week, it's like they're not really practicing every day. It's like I skipped a couple days. So it's easy enough to like achieve that. And then the main thing of like this practice, but like every practice, is that you're using it to like check yourself. Like I was saying with the arts and Zen, it's like, now if I do this practice and then I do something that I consider myself really good at, it could be golf, it could be cooking, you know, I don't know what it is, but it's like something that you do. It could be playing the piano, but it's something that you enjoy and something you're good at. And so you do this practice, and then the next thing you know, you are you compare what you do before, you know, like you could play a song beforehand, or it could even be like solving a crossword puzzle. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's got to be something you like. And then you do just this first two things, and then you do the same thing, like maybe play the exact same song. And then you'll notice there's a difference. Or there's a difference when you serve something that you've made, they go, wow, this tastes great. And it's like, it's not different than anything you've done before. You know, you think, right? I mean, it's like I follow the same procedure, but it's not really different. And then from that, once you start to see that, it's like, whoa, this is really powerful for something so simple to do. Then you want to learn the other three exercises where you're moving the energy through the hands and things like that. And then it gives you sort of like a way to apply this to the things that you're interested in life. And then that's how you're developing your skills and you're developing your excellences in a sense from that, because it's like you're already enthusiastic about it. And when you see like making progress when you were sort of stalled on something, it's like, whoa, I just did a jump. And the weird thing is I did a jump without doing more, like practicing the piano, you know, like I didn't add an extra hour a day to do that. It just happened the minute I did this other thing. So I must have untapped something, you know, and then you play with that after that.
So what's different with that energy that you described? What's the difference between that and other energy systems like Qigong, that type of thing?
The interesting thing, you know, it's working with Qi, certainly, but Qi actually is linear in how it works. So it's like, you know, even when you watch those martial arts movies, even though they can be kind of fantasy sort of things, if somebody like pushes against someone, and then it's like they don't go in an arc, you know, like when you push them, it's like if you push somebody, they go back towards the wall or wherever across the room. But this, you know, so the difference is like how the energy moves, I would say is the big thing. And the other thing is that the the Qigongs have like, you could say four or five different purposes. I mean, one of them is martial arts. That's the biggest one that people know about. Second one is healing. That's the next biggest one that people work on. The third one is like developing psychic powers or supernatural powers, if you want to call it that. A fourth one is it's used in art, like to develop people's artistic abilities. And then the fifth one is not just psychic abilities, but this is like increasing yourself spiritually and towards enlightenment. The movement towards enlightenment. So that's kind of the difference. So the spiral dragon is definitely dealing with enlightenment, but it also adds like a sixth category, which is like what did you come on Earth to accomplish? And let's move
going.
you to that. Yeah.
Which is
for
key,
your own
right?
happiness.
Yeah, that's key, right? For people to excel in the things that they're focusing on and that their intention is there for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the things that they love. And then it's like from that, you're gonna create all kinds of interesting things. And over the course of your life, it's gonna change, right? You're gonna move from, you'll tweak it and you'll move on to something different. But it'll be like an organic kind of, step to step. And it opens doors, it opens ideas, it connects all during that period of time.
Darren, what were you saying?
Well, I was just saying that I think that like a certain level of this used to be, you were talking about mastery and about excellency and about what I was saying was just a smart ass comment about it not being playing video games or, scrolling TikTok. But
right.
There seems to be this overarching sort of loss of all of this excellency or even like anything, any sort of drive whatsoever, where most of people are, even people when they go to their jobs, they're not particularly giving a shit on what they're even doing there, let alone what they're doing to themselves. Or it's like all that sort of mastery goes hand in hand. If you're working on yourself, you're going to be working on these other things to us, you're going to be sort of good at all those things. So I guess the question might be how much has like stepping away from this to the, like, what are sort of, or how much was this baked into the olden societies so that we didn't end up sort of where we're at today?
Well, I think that it was baked in a sense, like if you were like you were a chef, like, you go into some place in Japan and it's like, it's like an art form and they're making something in front of you. I mean, it's like a mastery that they're showing, but that's part of, it's part of that, for each kind of thing, you're paying attention to what it is that you're doing. And then in a way, it's what you're really thinking of is like, well, how can I do this in a little bit better way? I could do less effort maybe and produce a better result. I could be more efficient, but you don't even have to think of it as efficient. It's like, well, what if I do this? And there's a certain play with it, right? Because it's like you have to play with it to get because if you get a crazy idea of like, I need to produce this result, I mean, so where is that idea coming from? But then when you try to do that, then you find out you even if that thing that you think you're going to produce, it may take you in a different direction, but it's teaching you how to improve what you're doing. And what it really comes down to is each of us like paying attention to everything we're doing all the time. I mean, that's as opposed to just like, laying back and tuning out, so to speak. It's like, as long as we're engaged in what it is, and we don't have to be engaged in a tense way. And that's like what the first thing, the relaxation is. It's like, it's teaching you to be relaxed in mind, in energy, in emotions, and in any posture in which you are. And then if you do that, then it's like you realize that it suddenly opens up different ways that you can act, different ways that you can move. It's kind of it really opens a whole universe to you, and it's just paying attention to it. And it's really all just kind of naturally one step to the next step. I mean, it's like you're not adding any like craziness to it. in a sense. It's just like you're paying attention to your life, from moment to moment. And that's one of the skills that this is coming from. And meditators get that somehow, but it's not always meditators that have it. People that are focused on something that they love to do, or some profession that requires a lot of skill, and so they've learned to develop that.
Yeah, it's that mastery that I think, Darren, what you're getting at is that mastery that's missing.
That seems to be missing from the West right now.
Mm-hmm.
In like all regards, it's like the amount of people who just hate their job and are just like counting the minutes until it's over, doing as little work as possible, not sort of realizing that automatic thing is it's gonna project onto all aspects of your life. You can't just do shitty at one part of, it's sort of, if you start doing shitty at one thing, it sort of takes over the place.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's a saying like in China and Japan, it's like if you shoot for excellent, sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be passable. If you shoot for good, sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be passable, but sometimes it won't be. If you shoot for the bottom, which is just passable, sometimes it'll be passable, but most of the time it won't be.
Yeah.
How do you pull out of something like that as a culture? Because I don't know if you're noticing it where you are, but it just seems like every place I go or everything I try to do, it's just hard to find outside of like a small business where it's a dude who owns the place, that is dealing with you. It just seems like morale is at an all-time low, or there's just no meaning found in the jobs that they do have. And, we could get into a whole bunch of different reasons why that might be, but I'm just wondering, from an overarching sort of standpoint, how do we pull out of that? It sounds a lot like a lot of this stuff in your book would be a good start.
Yeah, it's like it gives you a different way to engage things. And then the spiral dragon, like, a number of other practices, but this especially accelerated wise, it gives you a way to like let go of the conditioning that you've got. And that's part of the problem. If everybody's conditioned to just do an okay job and put in their time and not really do much. Yeah. And but they have to let that go in a way. And then it's like, sort of like when you let that go, then you can have that sense of like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting, and then you string that together. It's like, how many interesting things can you find in your day? But you won't find anything interesting if you're not paying attention.
When I read your title of the book, I thought of the Kundalini, and I wondered if is that a different way to express that Kundalini energy or to release it, or is this similar at all?
Well, it is in a sense. This is like a yoga of fire, if you want to call it that. And then in Tibetan, there's a name for it called Tunmo. But it's usually, Agni yoga is like a name in Sanskrit, but it's the yoga of fire. And what that is somehow we've got to like increase our energy fields in order to like even generate interest in things.
Right.
Because what's happening is if our energy fields, then we become dull.
Right.
And that's part of what you were actually also expressing, Derek, because you run into people who are dull. And they're okay with being dull. But it's like you need to, it's like we have to like literally reignite that field. And Kundalini is one of them, but it's like that's not a usual thing that happens. But any of the chi practices, where you start to realize that actually you have this energy in your body and you can move it and you can play with it. And it's something there and you can, it can shape things for you. And then it can turn into, the chi can turn into light, and the light can turn into information. And, each one, there's like a stage of where it can lead to after that. But you got to get sort of like back into the energy. And the big thing about the energy too is if there's a lot of people that are ill, let's say, low immune systems and things like that, one of the problems is there's just not enough energy in their being. So you got to do something about like re-energizing your body just to achieve a certain amount of health.
Right.
I mean, just for that.
Yeah. Where does the word dragon come into it? Where does the title dragon come into it?
Dragon comes into it like the fifth sign of the zodiac of the Chinese is the dragon, and the fifth sign of our zodiac is Leo, the king, the sovereign. So it's like the sovereign. But it's also the dragon is also not like a human being, right? So it's not like that, but it's like a being that's powerful. It lives in between the thunder and the lightning, or it lives in the water, where there's all kinds of energy. So it sort of has its energy in the water. So it's like it gives you a sense of that. But the dragon also take sovereignty for yourself. It's like, don't think of yourself as an automaton. Don't think of yourself as a slave. You are sovereign in your own life. And it's like you start to get this sense about where that comes from. And then the Dharma part of it is, that's a translation for like your own truth, but also what did you come here to do? Your Dharma is like, what is it that you came to like accomplish on this planet? And then that last word gate has two meanings, like translated from the Chinese, it does. So the gate in one sense is like there is an entry into this new world that's happening. And so you go, you're actually entering into like a new kind of dynamic. And then the other part of gate, when you translate it from Chinese, it can refer to systems. So Microsoft operating gate, or, management, system. So what this is also saying is that these 5 practices and the meditation and some mantras that go along with it are all you really need to accomplish this. You don't have to do everything else. It doesn't say that you can't do it. It's like you can practice in different contexts, and whatever else is great. But it's like this gives you all the tools you need to create this great transformation for yourself. And then ultimately it's going to move outward to the world and like take care of other people.
Yeah, I love how you tied in the autonomy there and being responsible for yourself, and being less of a victim and more about taking the sovereignty, and using this to help you with increasing your sovereignty levels. I love that. So what about the audio like, is there an audio portion to this as well? Like, how do you describe the movements in your book? Is there?
Yeah, there is an audio that I did. So when you buy the book, there's like a page that's got a
QR code,
a URL you can go to.
Yeah.
And then it has 2 sets of audios. So the publisher decided to make all, like I have all the pictures of how to do it, and then they redid one, just the pictures by themselves at the end, so you could compare it faster. And then I have an explanation of that group. It's like, well, how do you do it? And it's like between a minute and maybe 3 or 4 minutes each one. So there's like, something about how to practice it and why. And then the other thing is there's a bunch of mantras that you can use to practice with. And so there's an explanation in that set of like, what is this mantra good for? And how do you pronounce it? And then I usually do 21 or sometimes more so that you can hear it long enough to work with it.
Excellent. Is there anything else about the book that you should let us know about?
Let me think of what the important thing of it is. We think that our Dharma, it's like, what did we come, like in the West, we think of like, we came onto this planet to do one thing, right? And that's true, but things are changing so much. So what this allows us to do, this whole Dharma side of it, is to enter into a conversation with the universe, where you're getting led to consider different kinds of things. It's like you can have this sense of like, I wonder if, and then you can explore that. And then as you get this sort of thing, like I never thought I was going to do feng shui, but it's like after I practiced Spiral Dragon, it was like, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. Do that. That's really important. But now it's more important that I do teach this practice directly to people. So it's like my emphasis here, what I need to do is shifting, but it's like it's opening up a conversation with consciousness, if you want to call it that, or with an intelligence, the intelligence of the universe, however you want to describe it. And then, of course, you're going to verify it, or, see, am I being told the truth, or like, is it valid or not? And then when you find you can trust it, then it's like you'll say, okay, I need to make this experiment or that experiment. So Spiral Dragon is really an amazing, and the other part of it is such a simple system compared to like Tai Chi or like learning a martial arts. And the other thing about Tai Chi is like I've known people who've studied Tai Chi for like a couple of years, and they've never felt chi. And it's like Spiral Dragon, somebody will do it, and then within the first class or two, they're feeling it. And then they have this kind of like, oh, this crazy look on their face, like, what's that?
Well, that's an important part. I mean, that's kind of what I want. That's the other thing I kind of wanted to ask you about, is just how to, like, for people that still don't believe in chi. I mean, I don't think there's a lot left, but there's, it's important to feel that. And it's important to know that there is kind of a metaphysical aspect to this.
Yeah, I mean, it is important. And then this is really simple to do. It really, I mean, it's like you feel it right away, and then you realize that, and then as you play with it more, then the field gets bigger, and you can do other kinds of things with it, which is extremely helpful. But just especially for Westerners, getting that idea. And then the other thing that's really helpful is like, well, then test it with your own healing. Or if you've got kids or people in your family that get sick, it's like, test it with them. It's like, is there something you can do by directing the energy? And can you relieve some of their suffering? It's like, you're not saying cure them from everything that they've gotten. Don't make them punch a home run. But it's like, just get some relief of it. And then you gain confidence in doing it, and you realize what power is there. So it's like it really is kind of a re-education of what is possible. I mean, that's the big thing. The first one is it's like, what is possible in the world? What is possible for me? Yeah. And it changes your whole view of everything.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Where can people get the book when it comes out? Where can they follow your work? Where can they get your old books? Do you have a website? Do you have social media? Any URLs you can give our listeners?
Yes, I can. So maybe I could do that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. There it is. Yeah.
Spiral Dragon, Dharma Gate, 6 key Tibetan practices for enlightenment. It's published by Inner Traditions, so you can get it at their website, innertraditions.com. You could go to amazon.com, and it's already up there. It's supposed to be out in a few days. By the 9th of September, it'll be out everywhere. And then my website is called Chintamani, CHINTAMANI matrix.com, which has my another book that I did. And then, of course, you go to amazon.com, you'll find all my books there, and you'll find them listed at the Chintamani matrix.com as well. And then I'm not super active on social media, so it's probably easier to get send me a message through the website.
Okay,
but I do have an account, so I mean, it's like I could get message through Facebook or through LinkedIn.
It's better to avoid those places anyway. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You never because people are like, "You're doing what?"
Johndennis, this has been great. Thank you for coming on the show. We hope the book does well. We hope all our listeners pick it up for you. Other than that, thank you very much, and we hope you have a great rest of your day over there on the West Coast.
Well, I will, because it's going to be sunnier here than it is there.
It's pretty sunny here, so I'm in the middle. I think it's raining where Graham is, and it's sunny here. So,
are you in Cleveland?
I'm in Alberta.
Oh, Alberta. Okay.
Did you think Cleveland because of the Indians?
Because it looked like the
That's
the Indian
actually
for the Redskins, which is now thrown out, right?
actually from the Mohawks, the Mohawk reservation out east. My buddy sent it to me.
Oh, cool. That's very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
that's the fight the power flag, right? I'd probably fuck
Yeah.
that up. He's gonna text me now. But anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on the show and have a great day.
And you too. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye. And that was a chat with Johndennis Govert, Spiral Dragon Dharma Gate. What'd you think?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try that out. I've been thinking about qigong a lot or doing something. So maybe this is the thing I need. It seems like it's the shortcut, the qigong shortcut, and it must be in that bag of books you gave me. Right? I haven't gone through it all. It's in the garage.
It's in the bag of books. Yeah,
And
definitely.
fit them somewhere back here.
And I think maybe the next guest book is in there as well.
Okay, I better take a look.
A couple of those books had literally just come in on the front porch that day, and I just like instantly opened them and put them in your pack.
Thanks.
I got so many books, you've seen. I have no room for books without picking up a new shelf. And then when you get a new shelf, it looks all bare for a while, So it's you're better off just stacking them in the corner for a bit until you need a new shelf. But we might as well fill up all your shelves first.
Orfeo says Zen was how I got my act together as a teen. Nice guest. Yeah, he was a good guest. I really appreciate these guys that I don't know about who have been practicing this stuff for decades, and they've just gone through this initiation and training after training and all these like Eastern mysticisms, and it's amazing. I was happy with that.
Absolutely, that was a good show. And what time? I wonder what time the sun sets. Maybe I'll go hunting. It's probably a bit late by the time I get out there, dude. I'm jonesing to get an elk now or an antelope. Everything's starting to rut now, so it's like prime time for a couple of these things. The next like 2 weeks are prime time. So not that it gets a whole lot worse, but when they're rutting hard, dude, that really is when, especially with the bow, that's your best chance because they're thinking with their nuts. So
are you going out with a bow this time? Are you trying to get them with a bow then this time? Or?
I'll probably go out with the bow tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And then Monday is opening day for ducks and geese. So Jesse Cole is pretty stoked. Because right now I don't have a lot of bow hunting buddies. I'm trying to get Jesse into it, so then I have at least someone. So when bow season rolls around, I'm the only one that's super gung ho. Because no one else, and I don't even have to wait till bow season, but you kind of do. It's kind of hard to, like I say, it's easier to get to these animals when they're coming into calls and stuff like that. When you have to get within 40 yards. So I'm trying to get Jesse into bow hunting, so I got someone else to go with when it fires up. But the bow hunting, honestly, going by yourself ain't the worst thing in the world because it's just one less person trying to creep around out there. The antelope is super easy to do by yourself anyway. With an elk, it's a little trickier. It'd be nice to have another guy. Like you got to break down an elk by yourself.
Oh, yeah, that part of it. Yeah, but the hunting part might be fun. It might be good to just get out there on your own.
Oh, yeah, you can be so much quieter. And so, when it's just one person, once you have two people, you just add them 2 times as loud, probably more like 3 times as loud because you're each taking the other person's noise. It just escalates.
Yeah.
But then duck and geese Monday. So that really does tend to take over everything else. And once you get into ducks, man, it's hard to get out of ducks because you can just go every day. Just go again and again and again. So I'll probably slip into ducks and bow right now until the boys get here.
Cool.
Which is only 20 days away now. Tony got to be jacked. I know this year's flying by.
August, you were the one that said it too, how August went, and I looked, August went by I think it's the fastest month of my life. I looked at the long weekend, between the 2 long weekends was unbelievably fast. I don't even know what happened.
You know what I think part of it is, outside of just having a dream job, is it's always like we've always got something coming up.
Yeah.
It's like there's always something, it's the ranch cack, it's the hunting trip, it's the Azores, it's Easter Island. So it just seems like whenever those sorts of things are on the horizon, you just seem to get to them faster. As opposed to if you don't have a marker, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of it is just not having to spend 8 hours a day doing something you hate. Time really drags, right?
Yeah.
That's the bonus of having a job. So let it soak those in because those are the slowest moving hours of your life.
Yeah.
Do some Zen stuff.
Appreciate it now while you can before it flies by too fast.
So, big thanks to Johndennis for coming to the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. If you tuned in live, that's great. Over on the YouTube, check out gramerica.ca/support if you can. We're trying to do this show. We're trying to make a living of it. But if we can't do that, then we won't be able to do the show because we'll have to go do something else. We don't want to do that. Check out gramerica.ca/support today if you're getting some value from the show. I think this is episode like 730 or something like that. Sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation today. And we'd be super grateful. I mean, we'll read your note. We'll do all that stuff. We got some people to thank on the next intro. And that could be you. You could be a Lord. You could be all those things. Check out adultbrain.ca for all the audiobooks. Just had a couple bangers come out over there. Should be on Audible coming out later this week. There's also print books and all that sort of stuff there too. I mean, we got the best versions of some of these old books, literally. Through Adult Brain, because we're the only ones who've, especially the ebook side of things, where a lot of people haven't bothered to do that. And go get you some Adult Brain ebooks. Contact at thecabin.com for trips and events. There's still some room coming up for that hunting trip. And there's also still some room coming up for the Azores with Randall Carlson and some of the most amazing people in the world that you could ever meet coming up in November. And Easter Island, same deal in March. For America Outlawed, for our more controversial content, I would say most of the time. And also our roundups over there. Our roundups aren't always controversial. It's just like our outlets to just go off on whatever we want to go off on. Sometimes that's esoteric, sometimes it's cataclysmic, and sometimes it's just freaking out geopolitics or health stuff. Which, we just couldn't really do stuff. There's a bunch of stuff we can't do here anymore if we want to keep this brand going and monetizable. So America.ca/support. Other than that, we love you guys. Oh, join the chats too. Candace will give me shit. So join the chats, join the Telegram. That's a good way that you can talk to us directly. You can get messages us directly, and there's like a community of cool people there. So
who was giving you shit?
Ryan from Kansas, because I don't mention the chats enough.
Oh yeah, Ryan from Kansas. I got to try and get in there. I should try.
You better get in there. I mean, he's gonna have a fucking hernia, or what? Not a hernia, an aneurysm. That's what you have. Freaking out. So join the chats.
I thought it wasn't. I thought, okay, I'll talk to you about it later.
Join the Telegram. Other than that, we love you. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Somehow I built a rocket ship out of the stuff dreams are made and popsicle sticks. Please look at my rocket ship schematics. Tell me you can fly to the moon. Tell me I'm not a lunatic. I bet you think I'm a space cadet. I bet you think I'm a space cadet. No regret, I do not fret, 'cause I am a space cadet. In my hands I have a gas can and matchsticks. Yes, Earth is my home, but I need a vacation from all the sadness, the chaos, and dramatics. I'll let you do the countdown, 3, 2, 1, no hesitation. I bet you think I'm a space cadet. I bet you think I'm a space cadet. I bet you think I'm a space cadet. No regret, I do not fret, 'cause I am a space cadet. streamer. Do not fret, 'cause I am a space cadet. No regret, do not fret, 'cause I am a dreamer. Look at my rocket ship fly by, trailing behind a silver star.